Hi, Kiran. How are you?
Hey Ro, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Listen, I'm excited because this conversation is all about living with lockdown, and you are my first guest. So this is going to be fun. Okay.
How are you now takes on a more sinister kind of question. You are actually expected to answer how you are and how you're doing, and people are actually expected to listen, you know.
Well, you know what? I think people have a lot more time than they did before. So I'm hoping they will actually have time to listen to this conversation.
I
But
hope so. Groucho Marx once said he's the kind of person who, when you ask him how you are, he actually tells you. Because you don't want somebody to really tell you how you are. You just want to say, I'm okay, or something of that sort. So
exactly. So I think if I really wanted to know how you were, we probably wouldn't be doing this on Zoom and recording it.
I know,
We'll
right?
have a separate conversation about that. But I think what I really thought would be quite fun is to have a sort of light-hearted look. I mean, obviously, the whole lockdown thing is a very serious thing, and one is not trying to trivialize it. But I think at the same time, it's bringing out some really interesting aspects of people's personalities and their interests that maybe they never had time for. So what I thought would be quite fun is to explore how you're looking at lockdown for you. But before we go into that, I think for the benefit of the viewers who don't know you, would you be able to give us a little brief, snapshot of who you are and
Okay,
what,
so
what brings you?
yeah,
Um,
so just let me see the key things. I think I could well be the oldest person doing a full-time PhD. Okay, I really, one of the times when I was coming back into entering at Heathrow Airport in the last 2 years, the immigration officer looked at my passport, then looked at my tier 4 student visa, and he looked at my date of birth, and he said, "You're a student. Are you like the oldest student in the UK?" I said, "No, well, likely. I hope I get an award for that, if not for anything else." So the background is that I moved from across the world to the United Kingdom to do my PhD. I'm a lot of people do mid-career switches. I'm a late career switcher. So I've moved from the corporate world to the academic world. And I have 3 grown-up children. And I moved across here to Aston University in Birmingham to do a PhD in management sciences. So that is the long and the short of it. I'm a single mom and been a single mom for many years. And so, yeah, I mean, I love what I'm doing.
so academia is your love, basically.
Academia is what it's been my dream for many, many, many years. But because I was a single mom and my youngest kid was only 11, 12 years old when I separated from my ex, that's my children came first. So I waited until he left home to go off to university. And then I said, my turn, my life, my dreams. And I set off as well.
That's
It wasn't
amazing.
easy. It wasn't easy to get admission. It wasn't easy to get a scholarship. So so I'm used to doing things that, how do I put it, that it's like Pablo Picasso said, I'm always doing things that can't be done. That's how I get to do them.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So you're a great advertisement for, anyone who thought they'd lost their opportunity to learn, that you would say that it's never too late, right?
I would say I would be a poster card, not for somebody to learn, because not everybody wants to learn. I would rather say I'm a poster card for anybody following dreams at any age. Your dream may not be to learn. Your dream may be something else. Okay, I love learning, but I think the bigger lesson from here is that you can follow your dreams at any age. Don't stop dreaming. Don't stop reaching for them.
What a wonderful way to begin. So let's talk about lockdown and how long have you been living in Birmingham for?
So now it's 2 years.
Two
So
years.
I'm into the third year of my PhD, and please let me finish my PhD in 1 year, and please let me get a job. Yes, I've said it. I've put that out to the
Put it
universe.
out to the universe. Yes, I'm putting it out with you. So tell me about how lockdown has affected you personally.
So I have been living in a lockdown longer than most British people are. Early March, I had to rush down to Singapore for 2 days, just for some urgent bank work that needed to my personal signature and my physical presence. So I literally was there for 48 hours in Singapore. I came back on the 4th of March. And to be honest, at that time, the world thought Singapore was a less safe place because the coronavirus hadn't it really spread its wings over here in the Western world. So in order to be more responsible, I started self-isolating when I came back from there. So literally from 4th of March, I came back. I said, let me just self-isolate for 2 weeks in case I've gotten the virus or something of that sort. And of course I hadn't, but by the time I came out of my self isolation thing, the lockdown came in.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for over a month now.
And how has it impacted your, obviously as a student, presumably you had, lectures and things you had to go to physically. How?
No. Okay. So I finished my coursework in my first year. So no, I don't have lectures, etc. But you see, I live alone in this little flat. So let me put it this way. Earlier, I only had my company. Now I have only my company, day in and day out. All right. But you know what? There's always phone calls, there's video calls, and I'm kind of used to living alone. But for the first few days, I would kind of, in the lockdown, I'd kind of let the whole day go by without doing anything productive really. Then by evening, I'd start feeling lousy about myself and work late into the night. Then I'd wake up late the next morning, I'd be same thing again. But I think within a week, I realized I kind of needed a proper schedule or I'd go insane, okay? And that kind of helped me to get back to even keel. And you know what? Netflix and Amazon Prime really help. They really help you to, sometimes when you're just feeling absolutely like I need to have some human, you can bring a movie into your living room. So I think I'm doing okay. I used to go for long walks every 3-4 days earlier, and now I have signed up for an exercise class in India with this lady who is a wonderful person, Simran. She runs this exercise class every day, 1 hour, 7:30 to 8:30. So I do like a rigorous, proper workout for 1 hour, and then I'm like set for the day. So it's I'm doing okay. I'm actually doing okay.
What kind of exercise, out of interest?
So it's like a proper workout. So all you need, if you have a yoga mat or a exercise mat, that's good. And if you don't have weights, she says just get 2 bottles with water, and do that. And so every day she kind of changes the routine. So today was Monday through Friday. Today I just finished my routine with her, and she puts it on Zoom. So there are 4-5 people. I'm the only one who's overseas. The other people are in India, and they're probably her neighbors as well. But because of the lockdown there, they also don't meet one another.
Yeah.
And she's a trainer, she's a fitness trainer, and she runs this, and it's really reasonable cost, and it's 1 hour of good workout every day with stretching and everything of that sort. So it's nice.
That sounds amazing. You must share the link to this, in our thing later.
Yes, what I will do is later I will probably send Simran's WhatsApp number or something, because she doesn't have a Zoom. You need to sign up with her and do it. Yeah, and it's not very expensive from India standards. For us here, it's not that expensive.
No, I agree. And I think what's interesting is that a number of people have realized that they have to then transition to this online world.
Yes,
they're going to continue to do what they do, and so it
really works for me. So other than that, you know what, there's no really change to my family life. I am my family. Okay, so I mean, but I have joined a Facebook group of women academics, and we all work together. Like what we do is we'll all say, okay, I'm starting to write now, and there'll be somebody in Sweden, there'll be somebody in southern part of England, and we are all women academics. And so then we get together on a Skype group and okay, I'm writing this, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. And then we all say, okay, let's heads down, let's get to work. And then about an hour later, we'll come back and we'll all chat on the group, and we do a little bit of the women rant, the usual women rants, oh, mansplaining, oh, the glass ceiling. Then we'll talk about that, etc. And then we'll all get back to work. Also, I think I also chat more often with my children on WhatsApp, on a WhatsApp group. I'm learning more and more, as if I didn't know already, how I don't know anything about life, the universe, and anything, because children are great at letting you know what you don't know. So no, but it's fun. My children, they worried about me. They concerned that I'm living in a country which is not handling it very well. And
Where are your children based, out of interest?
okay, my three children are in three different parts of the world. My youngest son actually studies here at Oxford, but right now when his term ended, he went back to Singapore, and now then the lockdown happened, so he is in Singapore with his father. And my elder son is in the United States, finishing his final year of law school. And my daughter, is in Doha in Qatar. She's a journalist, and so she is also in a kind of lockdown state. She works for Al Jazeera. So my three children are in three different parts of the world. My boyfriend lives in the United States. My one sister lives in California. Another sister lives in India. You know what? At any time of the day, 24 hours, if I'm awake, I can find somebody who's awake to talk with me.
It's such an international family. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, and actually, when you were saying what your children are telling you every day, that was it Oscar Wilde who said, "I'm not young enough to know everything." Was
Yes.
it Oscar Wilde?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
I'm
was.
constantly reminded of that with my children too.
Yes.
So it looks like your working life and family life kind of sort of blend in because you're on your own, and it
Yes.
doesn't feel like
Yes.
there's too much new about
Yes.
how you're living, other than the fact that you can't really go out anymore.
In fact, my children reach out. My daughter reaches out more often now because she's so worried about me. So whereas she would not have time to talk with me earlier, now she's even more, gung-ho. So I'm like, okay, that's what the pandemic has brought to me.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
actually, that's a good way to think about what do you think has changed about your relationship. Obviously, you're feeling maybe closer in some ways, but your relationship with the people in your lives, how has that changed through this period of enforced
See,
isolation?
probably because I am already living so remotely from them, so it's nice to know. You see, you always know that you love somebody or somebody loves you, but when you see the concern, etc., it becomes an articulated love.
Yeah.
And that actually helps better. Like, for example, my daughter will keep telling me, don't touch your face, mom, don't. And now every time I do this or I do this to my hair or something of that, I'm like, I think of Minty. I'm like, oh, I need to not touch my face.
Yeah.
In fact, my boyfriend and I, whenever we Skype, we talk every day. And so we have this little kind of ritual where we blow kisses to one another at the end of the call. Now we have both made the pact that no touching your lips, you blow a kiss from a distance. So it's like, they're a bit of funny kind of things I've introduced. So yeah, I think what happens is that this pandemic makes you feel a little kind of, whereas you knew people, the love is there, it remained kind of not stated. Now it becomes very stated, because people are concerned about you, you're concerned about people, so you reach out. Another thing I've done is, like, every other day I try to reach out to a friend who I haven't spoken to for a long time, either text or call. Yesterday I spoke with a friend in Canada, and it's just like, just take the opportunity to talk with somebody.
Yeah.
Also, I think Facebook interactions have gone up a little bit.
They certainly have. And I think what's interesting about what you just said about reaching out to friends is that I've noticed a lot more people having like mini reunions and parties on Zoom.
Yes.
Some other app called House Party or something, which I'm not familiar with. But
Uh-huh.
so, for instance, I had a sort of mini reunion with some of my classmates from 35 years ago.
Oh, wonderful.
And some of them I have not seen since then.
Uh-huh.
We kind of all, did a little Zoom get together. And it was just funny that we could have done this at any time, in all these
Yeah.
years.
But nobody thought of doing it. I mean, you were anyway across the world, and
Exactly.
anyway you'd have to do it. But it's suddenly like, because you're locked in the house, you're thinking of doing this. Yeah, we all
Exactly.
need something to replenish the negativity and the fears and the anxieties that are there, and to kind of wipe them out. We need some positive replenishment. So
Absolutely.
I think this connecting with humans is so important.
So tell me about this whole negativity. And, I mean, for instance, if you're somebody who is watching the news quite a lot, and a lot of people are, I suppose being at home, they might have the TV on or the radio on, and the news is constantly focusing on the virus and it's very, very relentlessly negative, which can then build anxiety within you. I mean, from what you were saying, you're not one of those people. Well, how are you dealing
Coping.
with the negativity? How are you countering it?
You see, my default mode is to make grim situations funny. That's just my, when I was going through a very harrowing divorce, my divorce lasted 12 years in Singapore. I used to say that the thing that kept me going was that, okay, I'm going to make it into the Guinness Book of Records for the person with the longest divorce proceedings. Okay. And that might well be the only record I'll ever state. So you know what, this is a good thing. So, and my friends, and not counting being the oldest person in the world doing a PhD. Okay. So the thing is that now a very funny thing happened just 3 days back. I've become a bit of a nosy neighbor. Okay. I peek out of my window and I see who's coming and going, kind of just for funsies, because I don't have a television and I don't have anything. So anyway, the other day my flat buzzed, and the guy said, so we have a back door and a front door to our building. The back door has the car park out over here and the front door has the street. So the front door buzzed and the guy said, there's a parcel delivery for you. And I'm thinking, I didn't order anything. All right, fine. I'll go down. I don't know what it is. So as I'm going down, my neighbor Peter, who was out in the backyard repairing his car, fixing his car or something, he was tinkering under his car. He's crossing I'm going down the stairwell and he's crossing from the back door to the front door. So I'm like, hey, Peter. And he reaches the front door first, opens it. The delivery guy is giving him the parcel, looking over his shoulder at me and stepping there. So Peter is saying something and I'm not understanding his accent. And I'm like telling the delivery guy, don't worry, all this happened in a matter of seconds. I'll take it. And I kind of grab the parcel from Peter and start walking off to keep a distance, 6 feet distance, 6 feet distance. And Peter is saying something and I'm not listening to him. And I'm going, I don't know who's this parcel. I didn't order anything. I don't know what's coming for me. And he's keeping on repeating something. And I'm like, then suddenly I'm reaching the steps and starting to go up. And then I'm hearing Peter saying, I think that's Caroline's parcel, and Caroline being his girlfriend, who's upstairs in the flat, who called him saying, there's a delivery. Can you go and take it? So, and suddenly I'm looking at the parcel and seeing it's not even got my name on it. It's got Caroline's. And I'm like this parcel thief who's like snatching it from him. And he's like, that's mine. And suddenly I said, oh my God, this is yours. He says, that's what I've been saying. And I don't know why the guy buzzed my flat by mistake, I guess.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was just so funny because I was like, this poor Peter is thinking, this parcel thief, she's and that too, daylight robbery. I'm snatching it off his hand and going away, So that was like seriously funny, But also another funny thing is that, you do all these Zoom calls and meetings, etc. I could well be naked waist down, Are you wearing pants? Are you wearing pants?
You're not today.
Well, the main question is, are you wearing pants? Okay.
Yes. We won't ask that question. So, so you're making light of things. I mean, do you have any particular, things that really work for you? Like for me, what I found is, I have certain things on Facebook, certain pages, which just make me laugh. And so I kind of make them see first, where everything they post actually comes on my timeline. And
Yes.
that's something I've discovered, in the last couple of years, that because sometimes you miss stuff from people.
Yes. So for me, one of the biggest mainstay of my life is poetry. And I kind of find that poetry is something that can get me, and I don't use this word lightly, make me feel drunk. I don't need alcohol to be drunk. I can be drunk on poetry, and I love alcohol, by the way. So it's like, that's something that really helps me. I mean, yes, humor and connecting with people, and yes, humorous pages on Facebook or whatever it is. These are nice things. One of the things that I indulge a lot in is poetry. So I never go to sleep without reading Mirza Ghalib, or, I read a lot of Urdu poetry, and because I've taught myself to read and write Urdu. So I do that's something which I feel that is nice. And then sometimes, like for example, my boyfriend and I decided about 4-5 days back to have a date night, so we both said, okay, you dress up nicely, dress up prettily, and have candles and things like that, and then let's sit and have a talk, like a romantic chat, or tell jokes and things like that. And I think my jokes were better than his.
Competition.
No, it's not. But yeah, so that is my coping mechanism. I have also another thing I've done is with my classmates who are all my children's ages, we are in a WhatsApp group. Every day I don't know whether you know this game Shot in the Dark. So we play Shot in the Dark. So I pick out one card. It has 5 very random trivia questions, which nobody knows the answers to. You have to just take a guess, kind of thing. And so give it and everybody puts in their answers. And at the end of the day, I post the reverse side of the car and we decide who is today's winner.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, and I do that with my youngest son also, and sometimes we get into a nice discussion. Like yesterday we got into a discussion on North Korea and what will happen if there's a war with North Korea and things like that, etc. So it sometimes we do these kind of things, and my classmates and I have that little group where we play Shot in the Dark every day. And yeah, these are things that you kind of do, and it lightens your mood. Everybody has to find, and then of course my 1 hour workout in the morning, that kind of.
Which is so good, because I think that's something that's missing, isn't it? If you're somebody
Yes,
who's active and who
yes,
likes to go out, suddenly there's
yes,
enforced, lockdown
yes,
is
absolutely, absolutely.
so
So that's
important.
really cool.
Yeah.
And I think we all find our own coping mechanisms. And while I love alcohol, I have a nice alcohol problem in that I can't drink alone. I just cannot drink alone. So if somebody is there with me, I will enjoy my alcohol and even get drunk. So I can have beer in the fridge for months at end and I will never touch it.
That's really good. There was this beautiful line I saw in a film that I so loved that I watched it about 3 times on Netflix. It's called How Do You Know? Have you seen that film? How Do You Know? I think you like
Uh-uh.
it.
Uh-uh.
And in that, there's a great line. She says, my dad always told me, never drink alcohol to feel better, only to feel even better.
Yes,
A good
yes.
one.
That's really a good one. Yes.
Yeah, I
And
love
I think alcohol should be fun in company, you know. And when I think people who start drinking alone might not know when to stop. And again, I'm not being judgmental. There are some people who can do their one drink in the evening and be fine with it. But I enjoy alcohol with company.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, if we can maybe just go a little bit deeper into what this. I know that your life probably hasn't changed massively from what it was before because you live alone, but have you sort of gained any insight about yourself through this, one
I
month?
actually think my life has changed a lot because I don't go out. I don't see any human beings at all. I mean, although I lived alone, I used to go to the university. I would go to the store. I would, do that kind of stuff. So I would see people and have conversations. Now I only see on the screen like this, real life, 3 dimensions people I don't see. So to that extent, I miss that human
Mm,
contact. I think what I've learned for myself is that we human beings, we're very resilient people. We find ways around. Probably that's why we are a race that has lasted so long. I mean, while other races have died out, also the fact that we are cruel people who destroy other species. But as a species, we have lasted really long. And I think one of the things is that if you listen from inside, each of us knows a coping mechanism. We each know what it is that we find able to cope. But I think very often we still the voice inside by, I don't know, alcohol or music or TV or, too much of that. And I just feel that sometimes listen to the voice inside, and then you will know for yourself what is right for you and how to cope. As far as the world we're going in, I'm afraid, Ro, that we're heading for a new normal. It's like terrorism has become a normal part of our life. If you're traveling, if you're packing a bottle of lotion, you will put it into your checked-in baggage. It just comes naturally to you.
yeah,
Whereas probably in the 1990s, you wouldn't have done it so naturally. I mean, since 2000, we just live with terrorism. We know that we're going to have long lines at the airport, and we reach the security, we open our bag and take out our computer automatically. All these things we know. I'm afraid that this lockdown will happen. They'll find a vaccine for this, but then the threat of similar such pandemics or similar of then bio warfare becomes a thing. So I just feel we're all heading for a new normal. I think that we will come out of this stronger, but life will not be the same again. We'll be fine, and we'll live, and we'll still have friends, we'll still be in relationships, we'll still make love and have sex and make babies and live and die and give birth and everything of that sort. But my own instinct and gut tells me that we're heading for a new normal in life.
Yeah.
That,
And I think what's interesting is that, it's brought us to this standstill that nothing else was able to, collectively. And that's what's interesting about it, that everyone, there's a kind of global impact to this that even the financial crisis probably
yes.
brings.
I think the other biggest thing that for me, the biggest insight for me is that everybody wants to say, oh, look, the coronavirus is a great leveler. It will attack you whether you're rich or you're poor. And I'm saying that it has actually exposed the horrific inequalities in our society, which are being exacerbated, because it's so easy for me to be in a lockdown. I have food, I'm warm, I've got a home. There are people who live on the streets. There are people, this is a rich man's virus that came in because rich people traveled all over the world. And when I say rich, I use the word loosely. But we traveled all over the world. We brought the virus back. We gave it to the poor people who now have no way of protecting themselves. Who live in, think of a little chawl or a slum in India, in Bombay, an 8 by 10 room with 8 people sleeping in the same room. What is social distancing? What is the meaning of social distancing? So no, I think this pandemic is not a leveler. It's actually exposed the inequalities, and hopefully we can all come out of it realizing that we as humans need to do more than simply earning for ourselves and paying our own rent and paying our own food bills, etc. We owe it to society to do something more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think someone said quite rightly that for someone who's really poor, the virus is less of a problem than hunger.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a lot of countries, there's no welfare system.
You're going to die of hunger before the virus even has a chance to get you. It's like Sam Levinson, he used to say, I used to read his books. He was a very funny comedian from the 1970s or 19 something like that. And I read his books, and he used to say that, you have, when you drop food on the ground, nowadays parents say that, oh, don't drop it, germs would have gotten on. He says, when I was growing up, we would fight those germs for that food which had fallen down on the ground. Forget germs, that's food. You take it and you eat it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think people's immune systems have become perhaps accustomed to hygiene and cleanliness in some respects, and maybe we're just. I also think the other thing that's happened is that we live, and I say we, as a collective, that our lives have become more stressful. There's more anxiety, and that generally tends to suppress natural immunity.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know about that, because I feel that poor people actually have more, mental health and etc. is something that rich people can indulge in. Mental health issues. A poor person has no way of indulging. I have no doubt that 3/4, I'm making up the statistics, but 3/4 or 80% of people who live on the streets, who are poor, who live from meal to meal, are incredibly depressed and stressed and anxious, etc. But that's their normal.
Yeah.
That's their normal. They don't even, it's not something they just function through that.
Yeah, they know no different as well. So it's that's what they do. So what do you see? Obviously the new normal you talked about, and I agree with you. And I suppose the big question is, what is that new normal going to look like? And I know we're not in the business of predictions here, but I would just love to hear if you were to sit there and crystal ball gaze,
I'm afraid, again, obviously I'm going out on a limb saying this, and I may be utterly wrong because I'm not a social scientist, and nor do I have any statistics or any numbers to back me up. So I'm just going by a hunch kind of thing. But I'm afraid that the fear of a pandemic will never leave us. So I'm afraid that if we've learned our lesson after this lockdown, people will meeting like this online will become more common than meeting, having parties, etc. Jobs will change into, employers will become more accepting of remote working jobs, and people will, but I don't see people's connections going down. I see social media going up, and regardless that a lot of people may mock people like me who use social media a fair bit, that oh, look at her, she's always on on Facebook or whatever. I think that gives us the human connection we need, but physical connections, I think people will walk more rather than taking, I mean, if they are physically able to, rather than take public transport or whatever it is. Jobs will change. I think the travel industry will see a lot of change. People will start looking at um, going to places closer by rather than traveling across the world. So I just feel that bio warfare is a real possibility.
So so just maybe just kind of summing up what you just said there. So you think that people's way of living and working is going to be impacted by what's
impacted. I think so, one way or the other, for the better or for the worse, it's going to be impacted. Definitely. Because we're not going to lose the memory of this.
But obviously it's very traumatic, people dying, and the leveler aspect of the virus. But there's also some incredible beauty that's emerging. Like some of the photographs of being able to see the Himalayas from
oh yes,
and being able to see cities like Mumbai in their fullest glory that we've never seen.
Yeah. Air pollution going down. I'm not so sure, have we learned our lesson on that? I don't know. We are such an irresponsible species, and we're destroying the earth without even without blinking our eye about it. I'm afraid that have we learned the lesson about taking care of this earth, or have we learned the lesson about just taking care of ourselves physically? I'm not, okay, this is where I don't know. I don't know. And if I was to say one thing we could take away from all this, I mean, the earth, I think the earth has been there longer, way before us. It will kill us and destroy us and continue being on there. We are the dispensable commodities. And I think if there's one lesson we've learned is that societal, the inequalities need to be worked on. That is what we all need to focus on, and I think everything else hopefully will fall in place. But if we take away just one lesson, I would say, let's work on inequalities in society, hunger, every child getting an education. That would be a bigger learning for me than the earth and climate change. And I'm a big climate change, fan. Yeah.
Sure. So I think it's a really good point, and I genuinely feel that if we are to make a collective change, but it all begins with us individually. And I think if every one of us individually took on a sort of one powerful lesson and made one small change, then we built on that change, we can have a massive impact. So on that note, what are you going to change about your life as a result of what's happened?
I think I would like very much to adopt, to the best of my financial capability, adopt a family, or adopt something, and make it a part of my daily life. It's not just money, it's not just about money, which I hope I should be able to, I can earn enough to to be able to raise another family's standard of living. But it's not just about money. It's about being able to do something more, like educating somebody or spending time, giving my time, and that's something that I really hope that I can do, and I don't know, I'm not young. I probably have another 20-25 years on this earth, if I'm lucky, if I don't walk out and a bus runs over me. So I think in the next 20-25 years, I'm not interested in leaving a legacy on this earth. What I'm interested in is having made a difference. That having walked on this earth for a certain number of decades, I made a difference and left.
But that is a legacy.
But I don't care. I don't care whether anybody remembers me, remembers my name, or remembers that I did something. That's not what I want. I don't want to be remembered after I'm gone. I just want that something I've done has made a difference. on this earth. That would be kind of thanks enough to the universe for having allowed me to live.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And just, bringing it back to kind of a little bit of reality, you mentioned obviously you want to finish your PhD and then you're going to go back into the working environment, and that whole working environment feels like it's going to be very different. The kind of job prospects maybe we considered even 6 months ago
Yeah.
may no longer exist.
Yeah,
So
they're disappearing. They're
they're
disappearing.
disappearing. And I think something you said earlier, which reminds me of the Charles Darwin quote about it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent,
Yeah.
but the one that's most adaptable to change.
Adaptable to change.
So we all have to think how we're going to adapt to this new world. And
Yes.
we start to prepare for it, the better. So in your instance, can you give us a little bit of color on how you're thinking about how you want to adapt what you already have in terms of experience and learning to be, employable and to be a contributing member of, working society?
Yeah, so well, I think that, I mean, the dream was to get a job as an academic, to be a professor, to be a lecturer, to senior lecturer, whatever. And that was the dream. And if that doesn't happen, my one adaptability is that I'm already a very adaptable person. I am willing to go to any part of the world, as long as it's an English speaking country, because I don't think I can teach in a non-English language. But as long as it's something that I can do in English, I'm willing to go to any corner of the world. That is something that I'm willing to do at my age. And I'm going to be 60 this year. Okay. So
60. No one would ever guess you were 60.
the
Nearly.
thing is that you only tell a person who is old that you don't look old. Okay. So the fact that what I look is one thing, what my body tells me is another thing, So, but yeah, so that's one thing. And if I am not able to get a job within a few months, because I definitely need to live on some income, then I will take any job.
But
And
coming back to your dream, I mean, it doesn't seem like an impossible dream because,
no.
if anything, this whole online, the suddenly Zoom is everyone's friend means that, if someone can do personal fitness on Zoom,
Yes.
then you can teach online, so I suppose I'm just saying to you that from where I'm sitting, your dream does not seem like a very.
Yeah, it's just that with the economy going to go into a tailspin, I'm just concerned that a lot of students, especially foreign students, international students, who are the main, who bring the money for the universities, are going to start dropping out because their parents have lost their jobs, cannot afford to send them anymore. Universities get less admissions and less students. They have less courses, they hire less. It's all connected.
I do see that, but I also wonder if the way education is disseminated is going to change.
True.
Which
I
means
just hope, yeah, that's my hope, that I did conduct a webinar a couple of weeks, because I do some teaching at my university, and I did a webinar about 2 weeks back. And it was the most horrifying experience for me, because I'm generally very good at engaging people in a classroom. And, I get even the most quietest of students, they respond, they engage, they discuss, and they will participate in the class. And I could not get a single person to speak. So literally for an hour, I was just desperately talking and talking, whereas I had prepared the class thinking that, I'd throw a question out and there would be responses. So yeah, so there's a lot of learning for me as well. And that's going to be my adaptability, adapt and learn how to do online teaching.
absolutely. I mean, just on that, I attended it was last weekend, I attended a 2-day training on sales mastery. And it was done in this community called GTEx that I'm part of. And I was, it was going to be originally held in a proper venue. And then of course this happened. And so they moved it to Zoom. And I thought, yeah, if it's on Zoom, I can attend because, I had other commitments. And I wasn't sure what to expect because I do Zoom all the time, for my coaching, but it was absolutely brilliant. It was really, really good. And I think, to your point, you just need to learn a few tricks and trades. You can do breakout groups, you can use chat box. It was really good. In fact, to the point where I'm thinking, do all your training like this, because for me, I didn't have to leave my house. I didn't spend time and money traveling.
And you didn't have to wear pants.
And I could wear what I wanted, and look, nevertheless, yes, a win-win. So listen, Kiran, it's been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for your candor and your insight. And I wish you all the best. And I'm
Thanks.
sure you're going to find your dream job at
You
the end
too,
of all
Ro.
this.
You too.
And
Thank
yeah,
you for having me.
before we leave, is there anything you want to leave our viewers with? Any message or something you want to say?
No, it's my standard motto, keep dreaming.
Keep dreaming
Keep
and be
dreaming.
adaptable.
Yes.
Be adaptable.
Yes.
All right. Listen, lovely. Thank you so much and have a
Take
really
care.
good day.
Don't
Bye.
touch your face.
I won't. I'll do my best.
Bye.
Bye.